What you can see on the screen, it's really exciting for all of us. It's a product we've had in development for about 3 years. We launched it about 18 months ago, a product called Surveil. Traditionally, we've done consulting ourselves. I've been in companies myself, running their 365 and their Azure. And through the years, we've really got to experience some pains and some opportunities as part of that. So that is the main reason we built Surveil. It's to help you just really understand your Microsoft world. It's very much a Microsoft deep dive platform. We don't get sidetracked in the other areas. There is a lot to learn, a lot to understand from Surveil, and most importantly, from Microsoft. Most importantly, there is just so much data there to be gone after. So really, to get that into a sense and get that into something sensible and actionable, it takes a lot of planning from everybody's side. Just to talk a little bit about the platform in terms of onboarding, just before I go in and show it to you. The onboarding process is really, really simple. You're talking about, on the Azure side, maybe 10 to 15 minutes for an administrator to onboard the first time. And on the 365, maybe even quicker, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and that is it. As Sherman said, there's no agents that are deployed, nothing like that. And again, as Sherman said, really, really important for us is everything is read-only. So when I take you through the platform, everything you're going to see is part of that initial 5 to 15 minute onboarding process. Again, very simple, and everything is read-only. And what's also been very important to us is that this data is accessible to people that are not administrators. One of the problems in the Microsoft world is you're looking in those portals, you're having to log in, but generally, number one, you need to understand what you're looking at, and number two, you need to have all the right credentials to get in there and see it. So if a CFO is interested in the financial side of the data, or if on the 365 side, an HR person is interested in joiners, leavers and understanding more about that, or a licensing expert in procurement wants to look more at the licensing side of 365, or maybe the procurement dashboards on the Azure side, with this platform, they can absolutely do that. And they do not need to be any type of administrator on the Microsoft side. It also means your help desks and things like that can log in and service many different services through the platform. Again, read-only, not writing back to the environments. So it's a lower security risk as well. So you don't have a bunch of administrators logging in to view licensing and things like that. So all dashboards that you will see are automatically updated every hour, every day, every night, every week, every month, depending on what they are. So there's nothing that needs to be done operationally. Your data is fresh. You're getting your FinOps views, financial views across. We'll support any kind of connections. Obviously, CSP is a big focus area in the CSP modern commerce side of things, but you've got EA potentially, pay as you go, etc. So we will support all of those forms of connections, and we make it easy for you. We just bring it into the same portal. You don't have to worry about where the costs came from. Of course, there's dashboards to show you where they came from, but if you're looking at subscriptions, or if you're looking at a VM, you're looking at VMs across all forms of procurement, or if you're looking at a license across all forms of procurement. So let me talk a little bit as well about what we do with the platform. So obviously cost optimization is really key. So we get into a very deep level of detail on that. It's important to you to not have any wastage, and just to get rid of those costs that just don't need to be there. And you can then reuse that for investment in better security SKUs, in better governance, better control, etc., etc. So that's key across 365 and Azure. And as Sherman mentioned, we're doing substantial saves there, up to 30% on both environments, actually. I've actually just got an echo, so I'm not sure if somebody just come in. Might have just introduced the echo into call. Thank you very much. That's gone now. So the planning tool as well, it's based on recommendations that we bring in. So we have our own AI engine. We will look at your licensing, we'll look at your Azure resources, we'll look at all those kinds of things as well, just to understand what kind of AI decisions we can make. And I'll give you some examples. On the 365 side, you might have printers, you might have distribution groups with licenses on them, accounts that never maybe were humans, or maybe humans that have left the company and still have licenses against them. And similarly on the Azure side, you may have inactive resources, what we call zombie resources, so they're not being used by anything, overutilized resources, underutilized, etc. So we have a whole bunch of engine AI engine capability that will learn these things, and of course present them to you in really simple ways. So when we look at saving money, it's really simple to get in there and save the money. And you'll be quite surprised across companies, the simplicity you start with, and then we can go deeper, deeper, deeper. So we can get right into the license planning. You know, on the CSP side, it's going to be critical with the new modern plans coming through, that you staying on top of those license commits, right? So if you've committed for a year, you want to make sure you're absolutely leveraging them to full capability. And if you're paying more for those monthly type or daily type resources, you want to make sure you're absolutely optimally sized with them and not having more in place than you need to. One of the problems both in Azure and 365 that's really fundamental is the AI tagging side of things. So let me talk a little bit about that. In Azure, on the tagging side, we know we rely very heavily on our administrators to tag the resources correctly. Quite often administrators change. Quite often administrators have a different view of what they need the tagging for compared to, for example, a finance person or a procurement person or a CISO or security, whatever it might be. And so it's critical that we get that data corrected. On the 365 side, you know, everybody uses AD nowadays, but generally these fields are a bit messy. You know, if you look at a field called company name, it's gonna have 900, 1,000 companies in there. You know, all spelt differently. Some of them limited, some of them LTD, some of them BPL, etc. So we take all of that and actually we clean it up inside our engine. Again, remember we do read only to your worlds. And we clean it up inside our engine in automatic ways, manual ways. There's about 5, 6 different types of methods of tagging. The net result is you can get reports from your CEO level down. You can get reports against cost codes. You can get reports against divisions, against regions, against countries, against QA, against production, against system names. This is my SAP environment. This is my high risk environment, my low risk environment. And that's all very relevant depending on what you look at. So very key for us is to get that business capability into the platform. And I think I'm going to just about jump into it there. I think it's sort of given a bit of a background. It's multi-tenant. You'll log in, and then one of the first things I'll show you is just how easy it is to get into your account. I don't know if anybody on the call would, but you may have multiple tenants, for example, and you can very quickly flick through multiple tenants. So when I sign in, you're going to see tenants. I'm going to log in with my Microsoft account, and I'm going to see tenants that I have access to, and I'm going to log into this one, and I'm going to have a bunch of info. I'll get back to you in a second to the info that's available to us. But at the end of the day, I'm going to have a bunch of, I can just select that again and go back into another tenant if I wanted to, and I'd be in that one. Okay, I'm finished with that one. I'll flick back. So it's just to operationally show you that even if you have multiple environments, you can get into them very quickly. So on the left-hand side, this is our single pane of glass. We have everything to do with Azure in here. So when I look at Azure, I'll go into some of the screens and that there. If I can just confirm, just from your side, Sherman, do you want me to just show a bit of the Office 365 as well today, or shall I just focus on the Azure side? The Office 365 side is down here as well. So there's a bunch of stuff in Office 365 similarly structured. And then we have some risk and governance across both environments, Office 365 Azure, and some third-party bolts on it. But it's all in one pane of glass. We can even put your own custom Power BI reports into these menus. And you could have one created just for yourself. You could click on it, or just for your CIO, or for your management team, or for your IT teams, etc., and pop them in there. So I'm going to go right into it, and I'm going to start showing you what this product does. So when I look at Azure, I'm going to come into the first screen. I'm going to get a bit of an overview. This is maybe just to show you the back end, the UI, the capability of our tagging engine. And you can see here that in the last 7 days, the manufacturing division's costs have decreased by 2%, or maybe customer services has increased by 1%. So if I click in there, I have got the capability to then see what it is that's going up, and I could maybe click on one of these resources, and I can go straight in and see, you know, the costs have been over from day to day, what other associated costs there are, what tags I have on this environment, what kind of a resource is it? You know, it's this thing, a D2, V2. And importantly, I can go and look at and see what is my CPU that's been there, my network in, out, or I may want to go and look at a bunch of other things like disk read, write. And again, I have read access only to the Azure environment, but yet not being an Azure administrator, I can get into all of these details. But more importantly is the whole backend is supported through something called Power BI Embedded Analytics. And in there, we'll just go straight into the Power BI Analytics, and you'll get this beautiful visual representation. A lot of people know how this works nowadays, so it gets quite easy for you to get through it. And you can obviously go and select any one of these things, and many cases you can hover over them. So I can see in this particular subscription, there's a bunch of costs associated, and I can hover against it. I just know, incidentally, this is a CSP subscription. The one below it is a pay-as-you-go, etc. But I can see what are the contributors of costs into that subscription, and I can see the changes on the previous month to that subscription. And so you would have a number of different areas. This is, remember, I'm in overview. There's a bunch of screens throughout the platform. We've got well over 250 dashboards where you can do a deeper and deeper and deeper dive. So you may want to go and look at resource groups, for example, and you want to see how your costs have changed by resource groups. And in the previous month, what was my biggest contributor to a change in resource groups? So in this case here, we can see this particular resource group here contributed to the 82% of that cost change, right, up or down. So again, very quick to get into the areas of cost change, and really quickly understanding where you've had these changes, again, across any kind of environment, doesn't matter, CSP, EA, etc. And you can get right down to very simple screens that just sort of show new resources you've put in this month, the percentage change, and down below the overview. Just to show you subscriptions, I'll actually just show you in the UI. You can see there's all the subscriptions connected. It's gathering data. And if this was EA, just in this demo environment, we don't have EA, but there's some CSP, there's pay-as-you-go, MSDN, you name it, everything in there. It all automatically comes in, and we start collecting the data. Okay, so just to move on from that, I will start taking you into our into the financial operations side, so FinOps. And there's two key areas to cover here. So the one is I'll call it the procurement side of Azure. This is giving you that next level of detail on deep dives. And then, of course, the really critical cost optimization side as well. So this is deep dives. Again, you know, I might want to say, I don't want this for 6 months. I just want to see this for 12 months. It's very quick to get my history. And why was it? Because somebody's querying in July in customer services, we spent 1.2K. What was that for? Well, if I just log here and I just hover over that, I can see the biggest cost is Power BI embedded. I can see that's in customer services. And virtual machines, you bought these 3 types of virtual machines. So you can get into this view very quickly. Or maybe I want to hover down here and see, as part of this reserved instance, what was procured back then, how much time is remaining on it. So a very quick view of your reserved instance costs as well, both CSP and EA coming into here. And then again, many tabs down here, you know, getting into monthly cost rates. You want to really look through in the last month, but maybe to show the capability of the tagging engine, maybe I don't want to see this by system name. Maybe I want to see this by risk level, right? And I can see there's my risk levels, or maybe I want to see this by system type. So that is the costs for my production QA backups test across all subscriptions, right? That's the beauty of this. And it doesn't matter. This isn't tagging a subscription. This is tagging individual workloads. So you can have a mixture of QA and dev and production in a subscription, and it'll report it accurately. And again, very quickly, easy to understand where these costs are coming from. We have some forecasting capability in there as well. And on that side, we use some cognitive services as well. We can do trends, sort of seasonal trends, and there's a whole bunch past 3 month projections, however you like to forecast. And then, of course, on the reservation side, you know, this is a huge area for everyone. You need to get a deep level of detail on your reservations. You want to understand what has been reserved, what hasn't been reserved. We don't have an EA in the back end, but when you click on the EA, you similarly see these costs. But I can see here, these are my VMs. I can see when they started. I can see when they're ending. I can see how much I've committed, how much I've billed, and how much has been used in them. Again, a bunch of other buttons on the bottom left. You can drill into the next levels and the next levels and the next levels of details on these. And on the EA side, even where you might buy it as a one-off chunk, we'll even distribute that over a month-on-month cost. So you don't forget that in September you spent, you know, $20,000 or something like that. And I mustn't forget that that cost is going to come out in the next year. So again, very key. And you might also want to see, how am I doing at the moment, month on month? And at the moment, I'm spending 5.5% of my total applicable workloads on reserved instances. So probably some capacity in there. And I've got worse over the past few months. So it's really good to go and look at reserved instances again. The rest, again, there is a lot of different details, levels of detail in this environment. I don't want to go through all of it. I maybe mention you've got a few areas like you can really get into a deep dive on the day, and you can see, you know, how do these log analytics change? And you can see log analytics are quite variable day on day. So you can start seeing, you know, if you compare that maybe to a VM, it's quite flat. So you can get into real detail if you maybe an analyst or an Azure architect or something like that to really start understanding these cost activity changes. You can look at disk CPU cost as an average. At the moment, it's costing me 12 pounds in this case, you know, for on average, but it's 12 pounds, 0.808 pence for cheaper storage. SSD is more expensive, and then my average CPU costs. Again, there's marketplace costs in there. We've got activity logs, so you can see what's been provisioned, what's been deprovisioned, what's been written, what's been deleted. It's all in here. But most importantly, I'll get you into the cost optimization. So cost optimization, key for everyone, of course. In this side here, there's a number of areas we focus on. We are trying to get to, you know, at least the Microsoft recommended 10-point action plan around cost optimization. And so we'll look in different areas for you, whether it's hybrid benefit, idle oversized services, reserved instances, potential there, zombie resources. I don't know if it's a common term across the board, but, you know, those resources that don't do anything, they're just sitting there on their own. UAT dev workloads, you know, there's often opportunities there to put them into a dedicated cheaper subscription, or at least to maybe look at them and say, I can maybe have cheaper disk, or I can have cheaper VMs on those types of workloads. The same sort of thing with premium disk. Do I need premium disk everywhere? A resize planner, because I maybe want to make some decisions. I want to take a bit more risk on planning the downsizing of my workloads. Same with SQL, same with disk. And then I'll just show you on the Databricks and Kubernetes. I'll show you a view. We don't have a very rich Databricks and Kubernetes environment in this test environment.
I think we can pass on that one. I think of timing here, you know, what I think just for timing wise, because I want to make sure that we can get to the lab piece of it as well. Harold, let me cut you off, but I think, you know, this is one of the key things. This is the approach, and we're going to talk a lot about this today. Okay, about like how to not lose your job or your reputation, because Azure in itself can be a monster. It's elastic. It can cost you, if somebody does something wrong, right, puts a VM that's 250 CPUs and 50 gigs of memory. Next thing you know, you've got this $5,000 machine, you know, monthly, right, or even daily in some cases. And what we're really trying to show you here, overall, the reaching is that we use this tool to first figure out what's going on, right? First, figure out. Oh, we have a so yeah, so that's really what we want to just kind of elaborate right here. One moment. There we go. Okay, elaborate right here. There's one more screen, and I know. So I'm sorry, Harold. I gotta get it into the lab here, but I'd like you to show the security screen yeah, there we go. So there's a risk and governance here, Azure Governance, and this is really cool about this. And this is the approach. You know, this is very different. It's the governance and hierarchy, right? So you can actually watch all of the different things and click in there, look at your regulatory compliance, look at your secure score, look at, you know, optimization, look at Azure policies. You know, one of the main things that I think most people have is it's you have this dark. You don't know what to do, what to measure, what to understand, and this gives you the policies. But this is the way that Advaya first always starts with every conversation. And you know, the cost of this is really cool. It's $1 million per day. Just kidding. It actually doesn't cost you anything. You know, it doesn't, because this is just the first step, and that's really what it is. Harold, thank you so much. Really appreciate this. Harold's going to be part of this. What I want to do here is actually get into the actual lab. So we have, let me go ahead and, looks like I got to re-sign in. Look at that. So I'm going to take over here. Any questions? You know, let's think about the questions. Are any questions coming up from this? Anything piquing your interest when you took a look at this? Does this make sense to you? And you can go to the conversation window and you know, just put in your ideas, your thoughts would be good. And I'll go ahead and take over here. We do have a poll here that we are going to actually put up here so I can understand where your journey is with Microsoft. So let me go ahead and put this first poll up here. Interested to know at what stage in your cloud journey are you? Are you fully migrated to the cloud? Are you currently have a hybrid cloud environment? I'm not in the cloud yet, but thinking about migrating. No, I'm still on-prem. If you guys could just go ahead and click that, I can at least get a good understanding here. Okay, so we have fully migrated. We have one there. I currently have a hybrid cloud environment. Okay, awesome. If you guys could just hit the poll there, I'd really appreciate it with that. Okay, with that being said, while that's being generated here, let's get into it. Let me share my screen. And we are at the Azure Portal. So this is awesome. So what we're going to do really quickly, and I'm going to show you here, if you look at my screen, okay, we are going to actually go from the top left all the way over here and scroll down here. Just do a real quick introduction into the actual Portal. And then the very first thing we're going to be looking at is resource groups. Okay, so I'm going to do a little bit of a quick tour here. The Azure Portal or Microsoft, footprint is really something else, right? The footprint is really something else. There's over 148 data center regions across the world with 192 data centers, which are more than AWS and Google combined ×2. It's unbelievable. Also, Microsoft is open source. 7 years ago, before I went to Microsoft, there was Azure, and there was 3 services. And I remember I created a VM in there, but it was a Frankenstein. I mean, this thing wouldn't work if no way, right? It was terrible. But fast forward to today, there's 12 main services in Azure. There's 148 secondary services, 868 tertiary services, and over 4,000 in the quad level. And what it means is that Microsoft opened Azure to what are called ISVs, independent software vendors, and they come in and they make applications go quicker, better, faster. Okay, so I just want to give you a little bit of just kind of background on this. And Azure is elastic, and I really want to kind of talk about this. So big today is understanding the pitfalls. Right? One of the main pitfalls is that you have no idea what you provision and what the costs are, and that's what the tool is for, right? To kind of measure that. But today I'm going to show you a couple things. Okay, so the first thing I just want you to remember is look over to the right. That's your top right-hand corner. That is who you are. Okay, who you are, right? Today, just remember who you are. There's going to be a convention there, CIE 1357. We're going to use that in our naming conventions. Okay, and then what we're going to do here, a couple quick ones that are really good. If you guys could click on the bell icon. Do you see where the bell icon is in the top right-hand corner? Okay, I'm showing it to you. This is called notifications. Now, notifications are awesome because when you provision something, you're going to see it being provisioned here. Okay, and it's going to give you the access to the resource. Super awesome. Okay. Now what I'd like to do is divert your attention over to the search bar, okay? And what I'd like you to do in the search bar, this is our first exercise with everybody here. I want you to type in 3 letters, okay? 3 letters. See where the search bar is? I'm gonna highlight it again here. It's gonna be AVA, Apple Victor Apple, okay? That's what I wanna show you, okay? Apple Victor Apple. And what you're gonna see here, when you just type in those 3 letters, you're gonna see the services here on the left, and that's what Microsoft does. On the right-hand side, you see the marketplace. This is what ISV vendors actually create stuff that makes this stuff go faster. But I love this because you can also get documentation directly from that. Okay, like super cool. Okay, all right. Just it's very simple, very quick. You just type in the first 3 letters, no problem. Okay. So now what I want us to do is I want us to go over to the left-hand side. This is called the menu bar. Now we set this menu bar up to be optimized for your environment. Typically, when you get into a portal, you're not going to see that, right? You're not going to see it. It's just a home. But we optimize it because we want to make it easy for you to get to. The first thing that we're going to actually click on right now is see where it says resource groups on the left-hand side. I want everyone to click on, resource groups. Okay, this is our very first exercise. We're going to get into this right away. Now, is there anybody here that would like to venture a guess on what a resource group is? Okay, I would love to see if anyone has the ability to tell me what they think a resource group is. And you can just type it in, and we'll see what people remember. It's a permission group. Okay, that's a good that's a good thought. It can be, and it will be when I explain this to you. Anybody else have any ideas, or would you like me to explain it in layperson's terms? In the street terms. Do you want to explain it to you in the street terms so we can actually make it understand it in the technical terms? Give me a yes or a thumbs up. Anybody? Okay, let's see. All right, Christian, good. All right. Okay, let's do this. So let's imagine a story. I'm going to give you a story here. Imagine you're looking down and you're seeing a skyscraper being built. Okay, halfway built. But you look down and you notice all the people, all the equipment, all of the machinery, all of that stuff, right? You see that, right? But then you look to the right, and directly to the right, there's another job site that has the exact same stuff. It's another skyscraper and it's halfway built, and you see all the people milling around and all that stuff, right? But one thing you notice is there's no fence. There's no fence. There's no fence in between both of these projects. What's the biggest problem with no fence between two major projects? We all know what that is. It's convoluted. Things get messy, right? They get messy. So what a resource group really is, okay, is basically it's a fence that we put around. It's a fence that we put around that yeah, people are walking through, right? So we got to put a fence around this skyscraper. So what we're doing is we're building the skyscraper, but all the things that support building the skyscraper are inside the fence, right? We need to do that, but we also probably need to put a gate, right? And then we need to put permissions, right, for these people. So the main thing when we think about that is we only want certain people in. But also, you know, we have a corporate headquarters, right? Do we really want our construction workers that are building, you know, the cement layer to be able to go up to the corporate office and basically go hang out at the president's office, just walks right in, has a lunch? No, we don't want to do that, right? So we need to put a gate in there. So so that's really what a resource group is. Anytime you provision anything inside of Azure. So today we're doing 2019 data center, right? So that's the main thing. But there's a bunch of parts that have to be included in this resource group to make that work. And we don't want these parts to be confused with another thing that we're doing. So if we're deploying a data center VM, great. If we're doing a SQL server, great. If we're doing a cognitive services AI approach, great. If we're building a modern data warehouse, resource group. That is fundamental. This is what I'm telling you, fundamental number one thing that we do. So we've already created one for you, okay? So what I want you to do, I want you to go down to your resource group. We should only have one that you're seeing here. So mine is info, okay? Info RSG. And take note, see with the naming convention, do you notice I put in RSG at the end of it? That's what I wanted to do is make sure you understand that, right? RSG, because that's called resource group, okay? So if I just highlight here, RSG, okay. So the next thing I want us to look at is what's called individual access control. Okay, this is, or not individual, identity access control. I want everyone to click on that. So go ahead and click on access control. Now I'm going to explain something to you. Second biggest mistake that people make is they allow anybody into the Azure portal. Anybody, right? So they get in and they have access to everything. Big mistake. And I'm here to tell you, we teach this 36 classes a month for all of Microsoft corporate and enterprise employees, and you would be our enterprise customers. You'd be so surprised nobody gets this. So instead of allowing access to the whole portal, what you do is you just give access to specific people on the project. So let's say you have 2 developers that are working on SQL Server. You know what you do? You create a resource group, and then you click on access control, and you would click on where it says add. Okay, so I'm going to show you right here. I'm going to add, right? And I'm going to add a role assignment, right? So I'm going to click on add a role assignment. And what I'm doing here is now what I'm going to do is I want to say, okay, I want to have this person only have contributor access. So I'll click on contributor, right? And then it's going to ask me to go to this wizard members, right? And this is where I can select members. I can actually add a member to this particular resource group, and I can push select. And then I'm going to add that member, right? So then I would go next, and I would complete this. So now that person that I asked only has access when they open up the portal, just like you, they only have access to this particular resource group. Fundamentals are what we're trying to teach today, okay? Fundamentals. Okay, the next thing we have to worry about really is policies, okay? This is fundamental. You need to understand this. You have to create some policies. So if I click on policies, there's 2 things that I did here. Okay, one, I created a policy that says you're not allowed to do certain things, resource types, right? Because I only want you to have access to this resource group. The second thing I did is I allowed a certain amount of virtual machine sizes. So this is number 1. I'm going to save you your bacon here. Okay. Most people let anybody create anything, and that is terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. You start them off on a lower end proof of concept VM, and if they want to ask for more, then they tell you, please ask for more. Okay, they actually ask that. Okay, I want to just pause here. Can I just get some feedback from the group here? Come to the conversation window. Tell me, do you understand what I just explained to you? Does that make sense? I'd really appreciate some feedback here. Awesome. Okay, thank you. So yes, okay, perfect. Okay, good. Okay, so fundamental, we already pre-created your. So step one when you do a VM is create a resource group. Okay, step two is we need to create a virtual network, and basically it's the gate, right? So we're allowing access. So what I want you to do, I want you to go to the left-hand side, okay, top left-hand of your portal, and I want you to click on all services, please. Go ahead and click on all services. Okay, it's a hamburger button, top left-hand corner, okay? And what we're gonna do here is we're gonna go over to what's called virtual network, okay? And what we're doing is we're creating a virtual network. So what we wanna do is in the portal, right? So go to all services, virtual networks on your right-hand side. We're gonna click into virtual network, okay? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over to where it says create, okay? So I'm gonna go over to create, right? The create button, okay? And we want to create a virtual network. So go ahead and push create, okay? And what's going to come up is our first wizard. Okay, so we have a wizard now. This is so awesome, okay? So we're going to start from basics, go to IP addresses, security, tags, and then review and create. Now, the first thing we're going to understand here is the subscription. So I want you to look at the drop-down, it says subscription, and it says Microsoft Azure. Just make sure that that's Microsoft Azure, okay? All right, so make sure that. Okay, the next thing is we want to tell it where to put this virtual network. So remember, we want to put everything inside of that resource group. So click on the downward arrow for the resource group, okay? And then go down and select your resource group. Okay, so mine is info RSG. Yours is probably only going to populate, right, with CIE RSG. Okay, cool, good. Okay. Next, I want you to click on the name, and we're going to just type in very simple, okay? It's going to be VN for virtual network -01. Virtual network 01. Very simple, okay? Virtual network -01. Okay. Next, what I want you to do is see on the bottom, there's this next IP addresses, or you can go over here to the tab. I'm going to go down to the little box that says next IP addresses, right? So I'll click on IP addresses. And now we're getting into IP addresses. So what we're doing in this virtual network, we're creating a IP address, right? We can access this network via the web, but we're also going to create a subnet. The beautiful thing about this in Microsoft is that they've already given you an IP address and subnet, so we don't have to create it ourselves. But let me show you one thing, okay? I'm going to show you what happens if I try to create a Frankenstein's IP address. Watch this. First thing it does, it tells me invalid argument. Okay, good, thank you. Now we go back. If I type in 10.2.0.0/24, boom, look at that. It gives me a green check mark. So it won't allow me to create something that's not going to work. Okay, that's the beauty of these wizards. Okay, so I'm gonna trash that one. Just leave it alone. Okay. So now I want you to click on the next button, right? And that's going to be down here, next security. Okay, we're going to click on security. Okay, and we're going to leave this default. Okay, you don't change this unless you have a firewall or you need DDoS protection. But remember, DDoS protection is going to cost you about $900 a month. It's crazy. Okay, don't put that on unless you have a website that it gets about 100,000 people a day. Then you'll start talking about DDoS, extra DDoS. But right now you already get some DDoS, okay? The next one that we're looking at is going to be tags. Now, we can click on that. We can click on tags. We're not going to actually do it today, but this is how you would justify the cost center. And what Harold was talking about earlier, right, is actually they create tags for you so that you can monitor everything. All right, next, see where the button, the review and create button is, the blue one on the bottom left-hand corner? Okay, go ahead and push review and create. Now, what this is doing on the top part, it's going to validate. It's giving you validation, right? And when it validates, that means that you're good to go. You can actually go and provision it. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to create button and I'm going to push create. Okay. So this is the end of our second exercise. So what I need from you, if you got to this point, deployment in progress, please come to the conversation window and type in GTG for me, please, so I can make sure. And if you didn't, if you had made a mistake, say, I'm lost, then we'll share your screen and I'll help you get to where you need to go. Okay, so let's just wait for just 1 second. We'll pause for 1 moment. All right, Michelle's good. Let's see. Christian is good to go. Okay, I think we have Sashwat. I think you're good. Okay, anyone having any problems? Good to go. Awesome. Okay, perfect. All right, let me just make sure. No, I think Michelle's good. Okay, so let's go into our next. So we've created the resource group. We've created the virtual network. Next, we need to create the availability set. Okay, and let me explain to you what the availability set is. Okay, so I want you to go up to the very top where the availability set, where the search window is, and I want you to type in AVA. We did it earlier. Okay, and I want you to click on what's called availability sets. Okay, so type in AVA. AVA, when you get to availability sets, click on availability sets. We're going to open this up and go to create. Okay, so it says create button. Go ahead and push create an availability set. Now, would you like me to explain the availability set too? A lot of people don't know this one. Yeah, I'll give you the story behind it. Okay, awesome. So what an availability set is, it's basically saying, look, you know, when you have a VM, it goes into one rack of space, right? That's in the data center. That's where it's at. What we want to tell it, and we know that Microsoft has to update that equipment. Okay, so if they have to update the equipment and you only have it on one rack, your VM goes down while they update the equipment, right? Or what if there's a fault on that equipment? Something happened, right? So what we're going to do here, we're going to create an availability set that says, hey, if this rack of equipment fails over or fails, your VM automatically goes to another rack. It's sharing the other resources, okay? Or if they update these domains, we want to fail it over to a domain that's not being updated and then fail back over. That's what an availability set is, okay? And this helps your SLA go from 2 nines to 3 nines, okay? The SLA from Microsoft, so awesome. That's really what it is. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up. Make sense now? I'm giving the thumbs up, you know, on my car. We like to make sure that we touch everyone here, you know, and understand that. Okay, perfect. All right, so what I want you to do, go to your resource group, okay, and tag your resource group, because remember, we're putting all these things inside this fence, right? So subscription resource group, awesome. Now, all we do here is go, we need to give it a name. So I'm gonna give it AVA set -01. Okay, so just to show you on my screen, it's highlighted. AVA set 01. Okay, now we can just click through, click on advanced. We're not doing anything in advanced. We're not doing anything in tags. So just click on review and create. Okay, so when you click on review and create, all of a sudden validation is passed. And then all we have to do is go down to the create button. Okay, so push create. Okay. All right. Now, let's go ahead and give me a good to go if you made it. So Chris, okay, all right, thank you. If you're good to go here, if you've actually made it to this particular site here. Al-Mubarak's good, okay. Christian's good to go. Sashwat is good, awesome. Okay, Michelle, are you good? Do you need some help? You're on mute. You're on mute. You're on mute, Michelle. Can you unmute?
She was talking earlier, so somebody might have locked her out.
Okay, I think I'm okay now, right?
Yeah. What's going on?
What happened is I took a phone call and I got lost at availability sets.
Okay, no problem. So what I want you to do, remember, go to the search bar. This is a simple one. Type in AVA in the search bar.
Yes.
Okay. Click on availability sets.
Yes.
Okay. See where it says create? Top left-hand corner. Hit create. And it's very simple. See where it says resource group?
Yes.
Click on that and select your resource group.
Yes.
Okay. Give it a name, AVA set 01.
-01.
Yeah.
It tells me the length must be between 1 and 80 characters.
Okay, just put AVA set no dash, just 01.
It still gives me that.
Okay, delete that all and just type in AVA. That's all.
Okay, that worked.
Okay, then just go down to the review and create, because we're not touching advanced or tags. We're leaving it just alone. Just go to review and create, the blue button.
Okay, I'm there.
Okay, click on that.
Yes.
Okay, and then you should see it going. It validates first and then create.
Yes, it's validated.
Okay, now push create again.
Okay, sorry to slow you down.
You did not. That's what these are for. This is a hands-on lab. This is what my job is. My job is to help you guys get through this. Okay. All right. Okay, now let's get into the meat and potatoes. Okay, so what I want you to do, I want everybody to go over to where all resources, remember all services again? All services, the hamburger button, top left hand. We're going to click on all services. Okay, and then let me go to, okay, so I'm in all services. Now, what I want to do is I'm going to highlight the second button to the middle is called virtual machines. Now this is where the meat and potatoes is. So we want to click on virtual machine. Okay, and then we want to click on where it says create. Okay, so create and then create a virtual machine. Okay. All right. This is where we all got to really sit back and take some notes. I'm going to help you. And what I'm doing here is I'm helping you save your reputation and your job. Not to be laughing, but seriously, like most people don't know the stuff I'm going to teach you. Okay. So same thing, Microsoft Azure. Okay. In the subscription window. Okay. Next thing, we do the same thing we did in the last three, right? We select our resource group. Okay. Because I'm putting this VM inside the resource group. Okay.
Yes.
Did that. Now I want to go over to the virtual machine name. Okay, so I'm going to give it a name, Demo Lab VM-01. Okay, simple. Okay. Next, region. Region's very interesting. I need you to understand this. Region is you want set the closest to your corporate headquarters because there's latency, right? Latency is involved. So we're going to leave that as West US 2. Okay. Now the next one down as our option is called availability options. Okay. So remember we created the availability set, right? So this is where we tell it, hey, put the VM in this availability set. So I want you to click on that arrow and select there's zone or there's availability set. We're going to select set. Okay. Select set. Now there's a new window that just came up or a new option that says it's going to ask you, well, what availability set? So I want you to go over and we're going to click the downward arrow and you should see the one that you just created. Okay, so we selected availability set and then we did the AVA set 01. Okay. Okay. Next is security type, leave that alone. And now look at the image. So this is cool. So the image says Windows Server 2019 data center, right? That's what we're doing. But a lot of people don't know that 52% of all servers in Microsoft are Linux based because it's open source, right? People don't realize that. It's crazy, but it is. But we're going to leave that one alone. That's what we're doing right here. Okay. Now let me show you something. So, Azure Spot Instance. is that's using, like, if you're going to do a test, but you can't turn a test environment into a production environment. So I want you to be careful, but these are really cheap resources. Okay, so now let's talk about the biggest mistake most people make. Okay, and it's understanding how you're supposed to provision resources to the cloud. Okay, so let's back up a little bit. How did we build a server in the past? Let's think about that. How did we do that in the past? In the past, we would build a server because we had a bunch of applications, or let's say we had a virtualized environment with 10 VMs. We would basically say, okay, we need to build this server based on these parameters. We need this much CPU, this much RAM, this much hard drive space to run the applications that are on the box, right? But then we also built it with an extra 30% capacity, okay? Yes, manually based on apps, right? We built it more in capacity because in the past, remember when there was an upgrade, all of a sudden you need more memory or CPU space for every project. However, today it has completely changed, okay? We no longer, okay, are building cloud, let me back up. Fundamentally changed. A lot of our apps have now turned into software as a service. I'll give you an example. QuickBooks, 5 years ago, used to be on your server, right? It was the bane of every partner's existence. It's horrible. But now they went to QuickBooks Online. Your ERP system was, on-prem, online. But let me tell you something else. Typically, your SQL servers are on-prem now, right? And moving those to the cloud, well, you don't price it the way that you have it because your SQL server on-prem is running 24 hours a day. However, you try to run that SQL server 24 hours a day in Azure, your cost would be astronomical, okay? Because the reality is your SQL server is really crunching numbers or doing everything, reconciling all the data 2 to 3 hours a day. So you take a SQL server and you price it according to what you need. Cloud is all about renting and using what you need. Okay, so if we understand that, now pricing something in the cloud is much different. We only use what you need. And my advice to you right now, to everybody, is first you figure out what's going on in the environment or on-prem. And then number two, we start small with a proof of concept. So that's why we started you on this first. See, this is a standard DS4 v3. This is the most important piece of the class, by the way. So I'm sorry if I'm going more and more on this. But where I'm starting here, this is the smallest size that allows access to all Azure workloads. If you go smaller, you only get access to a certain amount. Okay, so this is pro tip number 5. You always start here with any Azure deployment. You start small and you build. Okay, you start small. You never just say lift and shift it all. This is not the way it works. You're going to have a price that just does not make any sense. Okay. So now what I want everybody to do is click underneath where it says see all sizes. Okay, I want you to click on see all sizes. It's right below the size. Okay, when you click on that, now I'm going to show you something that's really, really interesting. Okay, so see the one that's highlighted, DS4 v3? That's the one we're starting with, right? But you see there's smaller ones, right? And they show you they have columns. VM size on the left, family, CPUs. This one says 4 CPUs, 16 gigs of memory, 8 data disks. Okay, we're good. Okay, this is where you start, but look at the price, $274.48 on the right-hand side. Okay, that's the price. That's a good price to start, right? Because we leave that on all day. It's fine. We can start here. Okay, that's where we start. But what Microsoft has also done, if you look on the left-hand side, okay, they've created categories, okay, of like, these are like templates of VMs so that you can understand what would be the best type. Now look in the middle, see where they have descriptions? Depending on what type of thing that you need, you can easily go into one of these descriptions. Okay, so this is going to be a little homework here. Not homework, but I need your feedback. Let's say I came to you and said, you know something? I have a need to create VMs because I have high memory needs. So what template would I start with? Okay, tell me which one. Look at the descriptions and tell me if I'm coming to you and saying I need something that has high memory needs, what series would I investigate? Which one would I open up first?
E.
So take E. Yes, E
Yes.
series. Okay, so I want everyone to click on the E series. Okay, see where the arrow? Click on the E series. Okay, now look at this. Notice the CPUs here. There are 2 CPUs. It's like a Tyrannosaurus Rex arm, right? It's atrophied, right? But look at the RAM. It's like the leg. right? Okay, so this is kind of giving you this thing. Well, wait, yeah, you're right. I don't need much CPU space, but I need tons of memory. Okay, understand that? Okay, but how about let's ratchet that down. Okay, now somebody else who else can tell me. Let's say I had high performance compute needs. Let's say I had something that I need like 50 CPUs and like 400 gigs of memory. What series would I, and you come to the conversation window.
E-Series V5.
Which one?
E-Series V5.
No. We're going different. It's H series. Look at H. Okay. Now open up H and look at this. 44 CPUs and 352 gigs of RAM. Okay. Holy smokes, right?
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Okay. But this is also the reason why I told you need to put policies in place. Because what happens if you have one of your employees comes in and is like, oh yeah, I need this. Let me go ahead and provision this. And then look at the cost. What if they provision 10 of these? Right? Okay. Yeah, I hope you guys are following me here, right? We don't want to allow this. Okay. But I wanted to show you this because these are templates. This is where we can start. Okay. So let's go back. Let's go make sure it's you have D4 SV3 push select. Okay. Now I'm going to put a poll here because I'm just curious. Do you understand? Let's see. Let's see. Okay. Do you now understand how to size a virtual machine? Okay, because I kind of explained it to you. If you can let me know, say yes, no, but I'd like to learn more, and we'll follow up with you with that. So just give us a, just go ahead and hit the forms. Okay, let me see the results. Okay. Nobody's voted. Okay. All right, vote. Hello. Okay.
I can't find my.
All right. We'll go with okay on this one. Okay. Oh, looks like we got one. Okay, thank you. Okay, awesome. All right. Now let's get back. We got to name this disk. Okay. So, or username. So this is how to get access into the disk. So we're going to type in demo user demouser. Okay, I'm going to put that in here. Demo user. Okay. And then the password I'm going to put into the conversation window here. Okay. Put in password.1 bang bang as the password here. Okay. So I'm going to put in there as password right there and put in password. Okay. Awesome. Now look at this. The very next thing is so important is public inbound ports. We're going to allow only the RDP first because we're going to create a network security group to create policies. So just leave that default. Okay. I just want to explain that to you. Okay. Good. Great. Okay. Now, the last one, this is so big. Oh my gosh, this is so big. Okay, this is called hybrid use benefit. Okay, and what we're doing here, I want to talk to you a little bit about the hybrid use benefit. Okay, that we have in here, right? And what this is this. It says basically, hey, if you built or if you have a server that's on-prem, you already have server licensing, and I want everybody to go ahead and click on the little box. Right, click on I have an existing server license, and I want you to click on confirm. Now, what this does, it says, hey, if I have a server license, right, and I want to move it to the cloud or do it through Azure, I click here, yes, and basically look at the cost. Look at what happened to my cost up here for my VM. It went from $270 to $140. Think about that. Okay. And this is because you already have a server. Let's say you have an old one. But let me tell you the second benefit of it. Okay. The second benefit is that now you can download the latest copy on top of your old copy. You don't have to pay for new server licensing. That's what the hybrid use benefit is. It's amazing, right? That you want to make sure that you do that. Now, if you're with AWS or Google, you have to pay for the server license in AWS and on-prem, and you just have to update both of them. Really stinks. Okay, so let's see. Okay, perfect. Go ahead and go next to disks, because we need to attach a data disk to it. Or actually, I have one more poll up here. I want to just make sure everyone understands. I'm curious to see if you guys have used the hybrid use benefit. Let me see, where is that? Okay, I'm going to launch this one. I'm very curious to see if anybody here has actually used the hybrid use benefit on that. And you guys can click on that if you like. Perfect. Okay. Interesting, right? But you got to save a lot of money. This is how you save money. And that's why that tool that we showed you in the very beginning, right, helps us make sure that we use hybrid use benefit. We make sure that we're using reserved instances, okay? We're making sure this is what's really hits the road right here. Okay, next we're into disks, okay? So in the disk options, you actually have your OS disk, okay, is actually already there. It's done. What we want to do is go down to where it says data disks. We're going to create and attach a new disk. So you literally click on that little link that I highlighted, okay? We attach the data disk, leave this blank, okay? And then go down to where it says okay, click on the okay button. And now automatically you'll see the data disk has been added to your virtual machine. Cool, okay. Next, networking. Okay, super, super, super important here. Okay, since we already use our VM, remember, look at this, our VM came in, it's already here, right? Our default subnet is already here, awesome, right? And it's going to automatically say new demo lab VM 01. But what I want to show you here is this next thing that says network security group, NIC, right? We want to click on the advanced radio button right there, okay? Advanced. When you click on advanced, you're going to see the configure network security group. We have to have this. This is fundamentals. And what this is basically the place where we create our rules, our access management rules, okay, to actually get in, okay? Who can get in, what ports, inbound security, outbound security, okay? Now, we're just going to skip over management, advanced, and tags and go straight to create. So you can just go, click through. We're not doing anything management. We're not doing anything advanced. We're not doing anything in tags. We're getting into review and create. And then when it validates, it's validating. When you don't have any red dots, awesome. Now we can go ahead and literally just push create. Okay. And now it's going to create our VM. Okay. So we are on time here. Just letting you all know, we are going to land this plane. I'm going to get you access, each one of you, to your own VM that you've done here in about 10 minutes, a little less than 10 minutes. Okay, so we're on track. Okay, so I need a good to go from everyone. If you at this page where it says deployment in progress, give me a good to go. And then it doesn't have to be complete, but that's okay. Okay, just give me a good to go. All right, Michelle. Okay, Al Mubarak. Christian's good. It looks like they're good. Okay, perfect. Awesome. Okay, now the next thing we need to talk about real quick here is backup. Okay, backup, right? Microsoft says that they'll back up your data and your VM if their stuff goes down. Well, what happens if somebody comes in and takes your stuff down themselves, or an employee messes something up? Big problem, because you're not backed up. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, go up to the search bar and type in 3 letters, REC, or 4 letters, sorry, 4 letters, RECO. It's called a Recovery Services Vault. We're going to create a Recovery Services Vault to put our backups in. Okay, so click on Recovery Services Vault. This is a very simple one. Just go push create. Okay, and we literally only have to put in our resource group, our name, and then push review and create. So let's go to resource group, select your resource group, select the vault name, okay, and it's going to be RECO-01, RECO-01. Now we push review and create. Then we push create again. And it's going to go, and 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. Aha, it's done. Okay, cool. Okay, now this is awesome. Now we only have to do one more thing, is go actually into the VM, or two things. We're going to enable the backup, and then on top of that, we're going to actually access it. So we're so close. This is awesome. This is awesome. Okay. Now what I want you to do now, okay, is I want you to go back over to where it says resource groups. You see that resource groups? Okay, we're going to go into your resource group. So click on resource groups, and I want you to click into your resource group. So I'm clicking into info RSG. Okay. Now you'll notice there's the menu bar here. Okay, but over here, this is all those resources that we created. Remember, we put all this stuff inside this fence, right? Awesome, we did it. Okay, so that's what we did it. So what I want you to do is I want you to select where it says Demo Lab VN01. Okay, so we want to get into our virtual machine. That's where it is. Okay, Demo Lab VM01 in your resource group. Go ahead and click on that. Okay. Now in here, this is going to show us everything that it has to do, but also this is where we're going to connect. You see where I'm spotlighting? We're going to in just a second, but we need to go to where the backup is. So I'm going to go in the menu bar, if you see my menu bar, and I'm going to scroll down to operations, and I'm going to scroll to where it says backup. See where it says backup?
Yes.
Okay, click on backup. Okay, now please do me a favor. Do not enable the backup today, okay? Because it goes into soft delete for 15 days. It causes me a lot of problems. So I'm asking you, there's one thing I couldn't lock down. I don't know why, but I couldn't, but please don't. But what I'm showing you here is you would typically say select existing, right? And you would select your RECO 1, right? And what was here is the backup policy is right here, right? Backup frequency, daily at 3, instant restore, okay? But you can create a custom policy if we want to, but we're not going to do that today, okay? But this is where you would back up your machine, you would enable it, it has a soft delete, and this is where it would go. It will automatically put all of your backups into that recovery services vault. Cool? Okay, so let's go to the menu bar, and I want to scroll back, and I want us to go back to the overview. Okay, click on overview. And now we're going to go over to connect to the actual machine. Okay, see where it says connect? Okay, click on connect, and it's going to ask you to download the RDP. So I'm going to download the RDP. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go down to where the blue button is, and I'm going to say download. Okay. Click on download, and what it's going to do is it's going to download it over there. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Or wherever your download screen is, right? So we're going to open up the download, right? The downloaded file. And what we're doing here now is we're simply just going to connect to the virtual machine. So we're going to push connect. And then it's going to ask us for our username. Well, so hold on a second. It might pre-populate like your current credentials. Okay, so you need to go to more choices if that happened. But I'm going to type in here demo user. We're all the same. Remember, demo user. And the password is P, and I'll put it back in the conversation window. PASSWORD.1 bang bang. Okay, I'll put it back in the conversation window if you forgot it. Put that in demo user password.1 bang bang, and then push OK. Whoops. Now it's going to connect. It's going to ask me to trust the certificate. Obviously, it's never been done before, so yes. And then what you should see, dun da da da, access to your virtual machine. And now this comes up. And come on. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Awesome. We got this. This is our virtual machine. The server manager is going to come up. We can start connecting. It's funny. I have this one anxiety that I always have. I don't know why I do, but you know, the first thing I check before I even go into the anything server, I always check the file folder on the bottom to make sure my OS disk or my data disk got attached. It's just a weird like thing, right? And I look, I'm like, okay, whew. My data is attached. I don't know why that is, but I just have that. All right, who made it this far? Give me a thumbs up. Give me a good to go. All right, Christian, awesome. El Mubarak, all right, good job. Michelle.
I don't know where I am.
Okay. Did you click on the download? You go to downloads and you click on the RDP?
I got to server manager dashboard.
Oh, perfect. You made it. You did it. Okay. So look at my screen. Okay.
But my screen doesn't look like yours. Oh, now it does. Okay.
Yeah. So I just minimized this. And now this is your machine. This is your RDP.
Okay.
How cool is that?
That's cool.
That's cool, right? That's cool. That's cool. That's, I get really geeked out about this stuff. Sorry. But yeah, I do. Okay, so let's go ahead and exit out of that and kill that machine. So you basically, through this lab, okay, we've actually done all the fundamental steps for that. But let's get back to, and Harold, if you don't mind, I'm going to get back to you just for a second here. First step, okay, of understanding anything is getting the information on your environment. Okay, and there's two ways of doing that. One, if you currently have cloud expenses, we can just run that simple read-only access tool. There's no agent. Happy to do it for you. Okay. Two, or run an assessment on an on-prem scenario. If you're already in Azure right now, I would bet you $1, because that's all I ever bet. That's maximum for me. That's like $1 million to some other people, but $1 for me. I'll bet you $1 you're not optimized, and I bet you $1 you're overpaying by 20 to 30%. And that's why I think it's so important to be able to understand what's going on. Also, on the M365 licensing, so many people have no idea what that is. What's there. Harold, you've met with a lot of customers and different people. I guess maybe my question for you is, when the customer has onboarded and now is taking a look at these things, what type of response are you seeing? What are you hearing from those folks?
I think a lot of it is often a sort of a gasp. Take a deep breath when you see what you can save. And actually, it's quite interesting because if you look at both Azure and Office 365, people say there's no way. Surely we're not doing that, or surely we don't have these licenses assigned to that, or so it's always a surprise as to. And surely, we are on top of our joiners leavers processes, but actually, maybe joiners leavers isn't just about people; it's also about accounts. So often a lot of surprise at just the sort of simple ways of tracking and some of the things you showed, like hybrid benefit and the tags and that are in there. But also you noticed you had to log in again as an administrator. So how do you make sure there's different people looking at this environment on a daily basis? Sherman spoke about, you'd provision that $3,000 server. You want to know about that straight away, and you don't want to have expensive people going, into the system, all your top admins and things like that going in the systems all the time and reviewing this. You want maybe the help desk even helping you review the stuff. So it's always an element of surprise on just how much money they can save, Sherman, and the mistakes that are being made just when you suddenly show them the entire environment.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that. That is really good. I do have a question for the team. This is the first time we've, and thank you so much. This is an offshoot. This is my squirrel brain. Meerkat, what's going on? Did you? So this is the Azure Immersion Workshop that this is the offer that we have. We'll sit down with you. We'll follow up, with a calendar invite just to talk to you a little bit more about it. The calendar invite, the first conversation is just a conversation, so please don't worry about that. Okay, it's just a conversation, no problem. And I'm gonna, and so this is what it is. So, my question was, did you guys like the spotlight view today? Was that cool? I'm wondering, because I paid money for this new tool. Did that work? I mean.
I liked it.
Yeah,
I liked it a lot.
I was wondering how you did that. I was like, that's really good.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's just new.
You can actually find a spotlight tool in Microsoft Power Toys right now. So I'm just going to experiment with that, free of cost.
Yeah.
Let me try that first.
And I'm not a representative of Logitech, so I'm not saying that. I'm just like, is this cool or not? I mean, I think it is, so I'm glad to hear the feedback here. Yeah, awesome. Yeah, so it helped you kind of like see where I was going, right? Because a lot of times people are like, well, where are you going, Sherm? You know, and I try to make my mouse super big, you know, but then I couldn't use that later on. So, all right, so let me pass it over to Dharmesh, and then we can ask just any questions. We got some minutes here. You know, I'm happy to, you know, if you have any questions about it, you know, with Dharmesh, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Sherman. Thanks, Harold, for walking us through, working our attendees through various capabilities of Azure and how you can like quickly jumpstart the machines and like get these machines provisioned quickly. And how do we optimize? Ultimately, I mean, the thing is that chaos can be created anywhere, and that's where the tools like Swell and all kind of help us in organizing them and optimizing our resources. So here's what we would like to suggest, and our team will be reaching out to each of you, and based on your responses and everything, we will be basically asking you to give us feedback and give us like, okay, hey, which direction you'd like to proceed. The first thing we would like to offer is a quick optimization workshop where we just sit with you, we look at your stuff, and not only even if you have not been migrated to Azure yet, we would like to sit down with you and look at all your current infrastructure and suggest what it's going to be. So typically we do this within 1 week or 2 weeks, depending on your availability and all. And this is our general offer that we have, but we'll be happy to connect with you and discuss the specific details that you might want us to cover, you might not want us to cover. So this is what our tailored offering about how you need your infrastructure to basically get modernized, and will be assisting you along with. So please respond to our communication as it comes along, and we'll be happy to take this forward with on that. Now, again, I just want to first of all, thank you for everyone's participation here, and let's open it up for any other further questions or comments that anybody has.
Thank you everybody for the time, and thank you Sherman for breaking it down easy for me, because in the past I've been working on bringing people into projects, and I would always wonder like what's going on, why does it take time to get this stuff going there, is it taking too long, and I wanted to understand what's going on with the provisioning part of it, and this really helps me understand what's happening on the IT side in the back end when we're talking about onboarding new developers and getting their VM machines ready and getting them all access of the stuff. Because even though you provide this stuff, it's still there. Like they may be missing applications like Visual Studio, or there may be not have the right setup, and then you have to go back and forth. So something that should take a week takes up 4 weeks.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I'm coming from. I'm trying to understand what's happening with this process and what we have and where the opportunities are.
Well, wonderful. So, Christian, we also do a couple other ones for everyone here. Just the last for Advaya. So we do a security M365 security with Azure Sentinel. We do a deep dive on that, but we also do the Power Platform, which is amazing because oh my gosh, we can automate tasks. And we show you, and we actually run you through creating your own Power Platform, Power Automates. Power Applications, Power BI, all that stuff. So please, when you see that invite coming along, come back. Love to, same format.
Awesome.
Like how we do it. All right. So it's non-death by PowerPoint, but it's like, hey, let's click. Let's click.
now I feel less like that dog behind you. Before I joined, I was like that. Now I feel a little better about it.
Blue dog, yeah, with the eyes like that, like holy smokes. Right? Yeah. I should use that in my intro. Do you feel like this?
All right. Have a good one. Thank you so much for your time.
Sure. Michelle or Max or El Mubarak, do you have any other questions or thoughts?
I can't wait to start my own virtual machine.
All right. That's good. Okay.
Absolutely. That's the purpose here.
All right. So Jordan says, okay, Christian. And last one, just to make sure El Mubarak is okay. He's just typing, probably just a thank you or something like that. Or okay, it's a phantom type. We get those. We're like, somebody's asking a question and they're typing, and I'm like, okay, what's the question? And then it goes away. I think it's because you're typing somewhere else or whatever. Anyways, hey, thank you for your time, and Dharmesh, thanks for having us. I really appreciate helping, and I always love to talk to customers and give them ideas. So.
No, thank you, Sherman. Thanks, Harold. It's great presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you very much from my side as well. Really appreciate it.
All right. Have a great day. Talk to you later.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.